is McCoy, and I am the volunteer manager for the Humane Society of Tampa Bay. As the volunteer manager, I basically oversee everybody that comes to the Humane Society to work with us who's volunteering, so people that don't get paid to be here. We have a student program. We have about 1,500 students a year that come in and work with us through the student program. We also have a long-term volunteer program, which is how most people work with us, where they do some training and they come in and help us out by walking dogs or hanging out with their cats or working in our medical areas. Sometimes they represent us at our outreach events, and we have about 2,000 people a year that do that program with us. We have fostering, so a lot of people come to us and take care of animals that are too young to go up for adoption, so they raise them in their house for a little while, and we have about 500 or 600 people that do that for us. So we have a really big volunteer crew. And I manage everybody. That doesn't mean necessarily that I have to talk to all of them all of the time, but basically I set up the systems so that they can come in and volunteer easily. I work with our staff to make sure that the ways that people are coming in and working with us are the ways that they need so that they're more helpful. And so I'm just sort of always working with the staff, working with our volunteers, making sure that everybody's happy and that all of our needs are being met on both sides so that the volunteers are happy and that our staff is also happy. The Humane Society of Tampa Bay is an animal shelter. We take care of primarily dogs and cats, but we also have some smaller mammals, so sometimes rabbits and guinea pigs, ferrets, mice, even rats. We've had chinchillas and sugar gliders and hedgehogs and all kinds of crazy stuff that comes through our doors. We don't have the ability to take care of reptiles and amphibians, so no snakes, no turtles, no insects or anything, so no arachnids, no birds. So we do have some limitations in what we can care for on a day-to-day basis, but if we have an animal in need, we always do our best to find what we can do to help that animal out. If we can't take care of them, we find somebody that can, and we also take care of people out in the community who have a pet already, but that maybe need some help. So we offer some low-cost healthcare options for their pets. We have food assistance so that they can come in and get some food for free if they need it, need a little bit of help. And we also take in animals from the public. So if somebody finds a stray, they can bring that animal to us. And a stray is just an animal that's out in the neighborhood that doesn't have an obvious family. So either they've gotten lost from their family, and in that case we can help reunite them, or they just don't have a family, in which case we will do our best to find them a family. So we adopt a lot of animals out. We adopt almost 10,000 animals every single year come through our doors. So a lot of animals that we take care of, and like I said, what I do is just sort of one small part of that. My education, I have a high school diploma, of course. I'm not sure that there are too many jobs that you can do without at least a high school diploma, so that's always a smart thing to strive for. I love school. Not everybody feels that way, but I have an undergraduate college degree that's actually in anthropology, and then I have 2 master's degrees. I have one that's also in anthropology, and I have another master's degree that's in museum studies. When I was younger, I desperately wanted to work in museums, and I still very much love museums. It's just that my career path has taken me in a direction where I don't work in a museum right now, but before I started working for the Humane Society, I did work for a museum for almost 10 years. I did mostly curatorial work, which means that I interpreted the items that were in the museum for the public. So when you go into a museum and you're looking on the walls at something, and there's a little blurb about what's going on and what you're looking at, I helped to develop some of that kind of stuff. But I started working very heavily with volunteers in the museum setting and realized quickly that I really liked working with volunteers. So it came available at the Humane Society. I happened to already be a volunteer for the Humane Society when my job position came available on staff, and I hopped at it because it sort of aligned 2 things that I really loved. Working with volunteers and working with animals. I've had a lot of different jobs leading up to, like I said, the museum job was one, but I also put myself through all of that schooling that I did working in restaurants. So I worked pretty much everywhere in a restaurant that you can, from being at the hostess stand and seating people when I first started out, to becoming a server on the floor, eventually a bartender, and then on to being sort of more in the restaurant management. So that was sort of my career as I put myself through school. And then once I had my degrees, I started working more again in the museum front. If I were to give advice to my younger self, it would be that it's really good to have a plan for where you'd like your life to go, but don't feel like you have to be so stuck on that plan that you don't take opportunities that come along that might enrich your life and your career path. Not everything might fit into a box in the way that you thought that it would, but that doesn't mean that it isn't going to give you some fantastic skills. I'm not sure that had I not worked in all those restaurants, that I would have the same people skills that I have now. So there are always things that you can take from whatever position you find yourself in, even if it's not where you thought you'd find yourself when you thought about it at the beginning. People ask all the time, what is my favorite thing about working at the Humane Society? It is definitely working with animals. It is pretty hard to beat the my coworkers that are all the animals that come into the Humane Society. I can be having the worst day and I just spend 5 minutes in the kitten room, and it's kind of hard to be stressed out when you have little kittens crawling all over you. So that's definitely a sort of my happy place when I'm here at work. Tampa, why would I have chosen Tampa to be my home? Tampa's actually pretty much always been my home. I was born in Vero Beach, which is on the other coast of Florida, but we moved here when I was about 1. Both of my parents work at the University of South Florida. They're both researchers there, and my dad got his job at USF when I was 1. So I grew up here. I went to high school here, with the exception of a few years where I lived somewhere else to go to different colleges. I've always been here. So it's a place that I love. It's a great city. It always has been a great city, and I think it's getting better and better as we get more amenities, more museums, more public spaces. It's just a great place to live. So I've decided to stay. A lot of people have always also asked, what are we doing during the COVID-19 response? So we have had to do a lot of changes. We obviously have had to limit how many people can come into the shelter at a time. We only let 5 families in at a time, which can be a little bit tough. We have a lot of people that are coming and trying to adopt animals from us right now. So we end up with maybe 100 people some days that are waiting outside the door to come in and adopt an animal, and people are waiting sometimes overnight. We have people that are even sleeping in their cars right now, if you can believe it, when they know that we have puppies that are going to be here in the morning. So it's been a little bit nuts, but we are taking temperatures at the door. That's a really good indicator of whether somebody is ill. So anybody that has a high temperature, we don't let into the building. We are requiring all of our staff and volunteers to wear masks, and encouraging any of our visitors to the shelter to also wear masks. We are practicing social distancing, of course, so we've put a lot of floor markers in place so that people know where to stand. We've taken a lot of our seating in our lobby area out so that people are staggered and not sitting right on top of each other. So we've done quite a bit of everything that we can think of on our end to keep everybody safe. We are, of course, worried about the economic impacts of the whole pandemic. We are an organization that relies very heavily on local donations from individuals and from businesses. A lot of those have been decreasing. We also usually do a lot of fundraisers and outreach events out in the community, and the vast majority of those have been canceled. We had to cancel one of our signature large events that was set to happen in May, and obviously that wasn't going to work. So we've had a lot of setbacks financially. We've had a lot of people that are still helping, but long term, we can't say that we aren't worried about where a recession would take us. And we're just going day by day and doing our best and doing everything that we can to stay open and help people that are in our community. We would love always to have anybody that's interested in learning more about the Humane Society reach out to learn more about coming in and volunteering. That's a really great way to figure out whether this is something that you're interested in, if animal care is something that you enjoy. There are a lot of careers in animal care. Beyond what I do. I'm sort of in a very small niche for what happens in animal care, but there are a lot of ways to get involved in animal shelters if that's what you're interested in. So I always welcome anyone to reach out and talk to me about volunteering or career paths. I hope you guys are enjoying your virtual learning. I know it's a bit different from what you're used to, but hopefully you're still learning about a lot of different jobs, and I hope that you guys are all staying safe. Take care.